Hey guys, I got a question. What happens when you give a turn fighter an air spawn? Oh goodness, I can't see. Hey guys, I got a question. What happens when you give a turn fighter an air spawn? The answer is a lot of resentment from the enemy team. Because you see, turn fighters in air realistic are probably one of the most irritating enemies to deal with. Especially if you find yourself turn fighting with them. So one thing players like to do, for example in the Falcon 190 or the LA7s or the A21s, is to basically climb as high as possible, get an altitude and energy advantage over the enemy, over the turn fighters, then basically just boom and zoom. Dive down, engage the enemy, fly back up. And usually that works for planes that don't exactly have a very good turn time. Because one thing that is common is that a lot of turn fighters aren't exactly known to have a very good climb rate or an energy build-up. So if you try to climb with like a Spitfire or a A6M, like sure you can reach the altitude but way below 300 kilometers an hour. So basically what happened is that if you are playing this thing, the BV-155 B-1, not only is this a very ridiculous turn fighter, this is a turn fighter that is classed as an interceptor. So that means you will get an air spawn in this thing. I am not joking. So much so that you can basically outclimb everybody, Yak fighters, enemy BF-109s, Spitfires, A6Ms. I tell you, not only are you robbing them of their energy and altitude advantage, you can also outturn them even at very high altitudes. So much so that even a Spitfire or A6M2 aren't going to fuck with you. And if I'll be perfectly honest, to call this thing a turn fighter, despite the wingspan being literally longer than the body itself, is a very serious understatement. I know that it says 17.2 seconds turn time right here, and then Spitfires can turn around like 15 seconds or so. Normally if there's a turn fighter like the G55 that says that the turn time is around 20 seconds, I would say that's a lie. And I would say the same thing about this thing as well. The turn time on this thing is absolutely ridiculous. And what's even scarier is that some turn fighters don't like speed. They may not retain energy too well, but most importantly, if they turn with a little bit of speed, like maybe around 500 kilometers an hour, they do run the risk of ripping their wings off. And that's not a problem for the BV-155. I have pushed this thing around like 400 and 500 kilometers an hour and made incredibly sharp turns without even ripping my wings off. Now there is one downside that you need to keep in mind when you're playing this thing. You do not exactly have the best roll rate. I'm guessing it's because of your massive wingspan. So sometimes the enemy, what they can do is just move out of the way, or basically try to predict where you are trying to turn or aim or whatever, and then try to make a sharp turn. Yeah, you may not be able to compensate easily. But the good news is that it's very easy to recover, and in no time at all, you're back on the enemy's tail. And speaking of being on the enemy's tail, the second thing that makes this thing even scarier than most turn fighters is your armaments. You have the 20mm MG151 autocannons, and you have two of them, one in each wing. And of course in your nose, as you can see, you have a 30mm MK108 cannon. And just a quick little note, this is not the same 30mm that you see on the Dornier 335. You know, the one you can load up HFAB rounds and tear up enemy tanks from top-down approach. That will be the MK103 cannon. Of course 20mm will be using the air targets belt, armor-piercing incendiary, high explosive incendiary, incendiary tracer shell, and you have a lot of high explosive incendiary. One of these rounds connects the enemy plane in the right spots, that is going to do a lot of damage to that guy. And of course, the 30mm will be using... If I'll be honest though, if you're going to be playing this plane, just pick whichever you want, man. It's still a very deadly belt regardless, like all of them. I mean, I went with the universal belt, but if you want to use a night belt, you want to use a stealth belt, you want to use a default belt, by all means. High explosive incendiary tracer, high explosive incendiary. Like, given the fact that these are 30mm high explosive rounds, one of these rounds connects with the enemy plane, that guy is not going to be alive for very long. And yes, unlike most fighters that has the MG151 20mm autocannons, you do have a really good amount of ammunition in each of these 20mm, 200 rounds, and even though you fire around 700 rounds a minute, you're really not going to burn your ammo in these 20mm that quickly at all. Now there is something you need to be careful of though. Your 30mm, you only have 75 rounds, and even though you fire around 600 rounds per minute, if you're not careful, you are going to burn these 75 rounds very quickly without even realizing it. Then again, you have two 20mm, so even though you run out of these 30mm rounds, you can still shoot down enemy planes like nobody's business. So yeah, there you have it, the BV-155 B-1. A plane that I'm actually quite surprised that I didn't really see a lot of people using it, especially given the F-14 event. But rather everyone seemed to prefer to use the Wyvern. Again, that thing is fast, but it's very chunky. And it's unalive yourself if anything. But anyway, that's enough about the BV-155B1. Now let's take this thing out into battle and basically rob everybody of their altitude and energy advantage. Ooh, there is not somebody I want alive. Just gonna leave you alone, because I know Japanese fighters don't last. Just kidding.
The enemy's getting closer to victory.
Dude, you're a BV-155. Just outturn him. Like that. Again, really? Come on, my last dying breath. Oh, okay. close.
Destroy hostile base.
Yes, turn fight me. Do it.
A little more effort, and victory will be ours.
Can I turn better than the P-36G? I wonder. Let's... Yes, I can! Yeah, I deserve it. It's okay. I deserve it. Yeah, sorry. I know what that is capable of. Yeah, let it be. Why not? Come on, just a little more. Oh my goodness, teammates. This is why you should always climb and stay above the wyvern.
Returning to the base.
I was gonna let you guys have it.
The enemy is winning. We must counterattack.
You two, man, come on.
We need to put more pressure on the enemy. They're winning.
Ah, god damn it. I'm all alone. Yay! Nice clutch indeed. He just gave him the kill anyway.